Please welcome the 110th mayor of the great city of New York, Mayor Eric Adams.
One of my favorite radio shows. Always good speaking with you, Zev. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks for joining us.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast. You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today, we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. For many years, Charles Barron and his wife Inez have been in either city council or the assembly, and I've interviewed Charles Barron, one of the most notorious anti-Semites in the city council. In fact, he told me on air that Israeli soldiers are gunning down Palestinians every day, which is a complete lie, but he had no problem saying it publicly on this broadcast. So it was nice to see that finally he was defeated. His wife was defeated a little while ago, and Charles Barron was defeated by our guest, Chris Banks, who is a former member of Community Board 5. He's a community leader. He's an activist, and he beat him by under 600 votes, but a victory is a victory. But he first started running against the Barron family in 2012 when he ran against Charles Barron's wife. He lost by a small amount of votes then, and he won now. So, Chris, welcome to the program. Congratulations on your hard-fought victory.
Thank you, Zev. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the coverage and allowing me to be a guest on the show today.
I thank you. And I thank you to Michael Cohen for helping facilitate your appearance on this broadcast. So going back to 2012, you had this passion to run against the Barron family. What fueled that? What made you decide and say, you know what, I'm going to defeat either one or both of the Barrons?
Well, it was a frustration. There were a lot of issues that the district was dealing with, and we just, across the board, felt that he was not fit or capable to bring the type of leadership that we needed. And the fact that he was toxic, he was a bomb thrower. He wasn't about bringing folks together.
He was a revolutionary. That's how he portrayed himself.
Revolutionary for a cause that, I mean, it definitely wasn't a cause for the district. And then put the district first. And we just, you know, we were frustrated, and we said until we won, we weren't going to give up. And we were able to get that victory, and now we're going to be able to move the district forward.
Now you cover East New York and surrounding areas, correct?
Yeah, it's predominantly East New York, about, I would say, 70% East New York, Remsen Village, small portions of Canarsie, Brownsville, and obviously Starrett City, which is in East New York.
And so were you surprised that you won the city council race? Because a very small amount of people, unfortunately, voted throughout the city.
Well, it was a low turnout across the city. And I know in our district, this is, you know, we're familiar with these anemic numbers. But nevertheless, it was the folks who participated, and we got the majority of the folks who came out. And I think it was across the board. I think it was just a frustration that existed. There was fatigue with my opponent. And the reality is that, you know, we had support from all walks of the district, the Russian Jewish community. We had strong relations with Nina Gavaloda, who's the president of the Russian Jewish Association. Rabbi Heck, who's been a strong supporter. I've known Rabbi Heck since I was a child. I met him during the days of the former councilwoman Priscilla Wooten, and we always took to each other, and then we became close over the years, working with each other on different issues facing the community.
And you work with some other Jewish leaders too, from what I understand.
Yes, Rabbi Jermaine, who has a yeshiva in the district, and he was also an early supporter and a consistent supporter, because like everybody else, they want a partner. We wanted to bring the community together, and we couldn't do it off of rhetoric and just the hate that was being spewed from my opponent, my former opponent, thank God. and we just needed to move forward. And I know Charles has consistently been a purist when it comes to anti-Semitism, and I think we needed to move. We needed to move beyond that. And I know from day one, with my administration that's coming in, we're gonna push unity, working together, partnering with everyone in the district, and addressing the needs that are facing the residents of the 42nd Councilman District.
Now, it's a big thing because he is a polarizing figure, not just for Jews. He's polarized other people in the district, including Hakim Jeffries, right? They were at odds with each other. He ran against him, so there's no love lost. But it took, I think this is the 5th time you ran against a member of the Barron family, but it took a long time before it to happen.
Yeah, this was the 5th time. I ran twice against the wife, and then I ran 3 times against Charles. So
Did you have
it's
did
yeah,
you
go
have the
ahead.
backing of Hakim Jeffries and the Brooklyn Democratic establishment?
Well, the congressman has consistently supported my campaign since 2012. Again, when he had when they were running for the congressional seat that was vacated by Congressman Towns. So we consistently had a relationship of working with each other. We shared the same values in building a broad coalition and fighting to protect everyone who lived in our districts, and also too. We've also had relationships and working relationships with the county, the Democratic county.
It's a breath of fresh air because here you have somebody who was anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, and made the most outrageous statements, and you're looking to be a healer and to bring everybody together, which could be a challenge. We live in a very polarized world today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we do live in a very polarized world, but I think if we stick to the values of unity, peace, and judging folks by the context of their character, and really looking at looking at the good in folks, I think we could achieve a lot. And that's what the district wanted to see. We were isolated. I called it we were isolated colony because of my former opponent, and I think we're better off today without him or his wife in the city council or in the state assembly.
Now, did you get a congratulatory phone call from Charles Barron say, "Hey, Chris, congratulations, you won"?
No, we're still waiting, but we're waiting, but not waiting, and we're just hopeful that we can just if we don't get it, we get it. If we do, the people spoke, and the district made its mind up, and we respect the will of the people, and that's our democratic process. So whether you concede or you don't concede, or you however you want to do it, if you want to be a gentleman, but I think he has been consistent. So we'll take his consistency and keep it moving.
Now, are you worried? Is there any possibility he can run again on some other party line in November?
Well, as far as we know, that option doesn't exist. I think the only thing he probably could do is do a writing campaign, and best of luck on that. But we look forward to whoever. I believe there is an opponent who is running, and we look forward to again addressing the voters, putting forward a bold vision for the district, and we look forward to a confident victory to represent the residents of the 42nd Councilman District in January.
No, and again, if you win the primary, so it's usually a shoe-in for the general election, which is going to take place in November. What are some of your plans to try to increase a relationship between the Jewish community and the African-American members of East New York?
Well, we're going to continue to do what we've been doing. Again, Rabbi Heck, we have a what they call the East New York Collaborative, which is an organization that we founded about 7 or 8 years ago, and it's made up of myself, Rabbi Heck, Black clergy members of the district, and some other community leaders that live in Starrett City, and we address the issues that are facing the entire district, particularly gun violence, We've dealt with food insecurity. So we're going to continue to work and to work with each other and to move forward, move the district forward. This is something that, as I said, we've had a consistent record of doing that, and that's the reason why I enjoyed the support, the consistent support of the Russian Jewish community and Rabbi Heck and Rabbi Jermaine over the years. They've been very helpful, and we look forward again to continuing that relationship.
Now, Chris, tell us something about yourself. Let's get personal. I know you were in activism and you were involved in so many different grassroots organizations. Tell us about some of the work that you've done over the course of time.
Well, currently I serve as the president of the 75th Precinct Community Council. I served on the community board for about 15 years, about 15 years, serving as the sergeant of arms on the executive board, then the vice chair of the aging committee, transportation committee, local president of my local block association, and also served as the chair of the board of directors for a local daycare center with service children in NYCHA developments and throughout East New York. So and I've done a lot of organizing, housing advocacy for NYCHA residents, and I've also been a strong supporter of fighting against food insecurity in the district.
Now, crime, of course, is on the rise in all areas, including in your district. And it's not just my thought. There's a correlation. The more crime that exists and the criminals get away with it, it's easier to also be a racist and attack Jews and Asians and other groups. If we solve the crime problem, we'll have some impact also on anti-Semitism. How do you perceive that? How do you perceive of what we can do to solve the crime issue? Because it's not getting better, it's getting worse, unfortunately. People perceive the quality of life, whether it's in Brooklyn or Manhattan or the other boroughs, to be not as what it was.
Well, listen, we can't police our way out the situation. We got to work with the NYPD. And let me say this, the crime that has actually put a stranglehold on the city really has no barriers. I mean, all folks have been attacked and different communities have been affected by the crime. So we have to have a comprehensive approach to dealing with crime. We have to deal with some of the social ills that exist in our community. But first and foremost, we need to build that relationship with the NYPD. I think that's key, that's important in order to address some of the criminal crime, the public safety issues. And also, too, we need to look at some of the social service providers that also, I believe, it remains in those social services ways that to assist with dealing with some of these social ills. And then we obviously need to go after the bad criminals, those bad actors who
should be adjusting the bail laws, because it seems like they can just get arrested, get out right away, and back to doing the crimes. There's no fear of the police. There's no fear of going to jail for a lot of the smaller crimes.
Well, I think there's some degree of judicial economy that's needed to address the bail issue, and I think if we address that, I think we allow judges to deal with individual issues and individuals individually, and I think we can address some of those issues, and we won't have this repetition or repeative of crimes that are taking place. Because when you speak to folks, as being the president of the 75th Precinct Council, as the major issues that come from all quality of life issues, low-level crimes, basically, that folks are coming to our meetings complaining about. And yes, it has something to do with, some of these low-level crimes where folks continuously just get out and get out. So we have to tackle that, and we have to be honest. We have to have an honest conversation with our communities and say, listen, we have to put these people behind bars because they're terrorizing our community. And at the same time, we also need to look at the mental health issue that we know a lot of these folks do have mental health issues, and we also need to tackle that. But it has to be comprehensive. It can't just be throwing them into, there are some hardened criminals that we just need to have them locked up for the rest of life. But then there are those who can, I do believe, do deserve some redemption or do need some type of
rehabilitation.
Rehabilitation, yes.
As we come to a close, here's the toughest question of the intro. You ready, Chris? As somebody who ran for office, you have to go to a lot of different events and taste different ethnic foods. When you go to Jewish events, what's your favorite Jewish food?
I would say, I mean, I really don't have a favorite, but I normally, I know when we have our meetings with Rabbi Heck, he always has a bunch of fruits and just a whole bunch of vegetables. So I'll eat anything. I know the hummus is good. I normally whatever I like, I'll taste and I'll just eat.
We got to get you some more of the chont or some of the other traditional Jewish foods. But I told you it was the toughest question of the interview.
But let me say this: if you invite me out,
you're gonna come. How about you come to us for a Shabbat dinner?
We'll
give you some good chicken soup, potato kugel, and give you some great delicacies.
And I think that may be the gateway to so at the next meeting we have or next conversation we have, I can give you some favorites.
Terrific. Now look forward to that. First of all, congratulations, as we say in the vernacular, Mazel Tov, on defeating somebody who was bad for New York. He was anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, he was a revolutionary, he was anti the establishment, he created many enemies, but it took you, and the fifth time around between you running against him and his wife, that you finally made it to victory. So congratulations. And we look forward, we have an open door, look forward to having you back. It's so important to keep the lines of communications open, and we appreciate your being here with us.
Thank you for having me on today, and look forward to continuing the conversation and working in partnership with you. Have a good day.
Thank you for tuning in to
Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, the pulse beat of the Jewish community.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Anyway, thank you.